welcome. You're on How I Did It on Echelon, and joining us today is Harsha Purasinghe. Harsha started a company called Microimage right out of high school. I think Harsha, 25 years ago. This was an era when the internet hadn't fully arrived. I think it was several years after you started the company that the internet arrived in the first place, right? And it's a company that has done several pivots since then. So welcome to How I Did It. And can we start by asking you, can you explain to us what Microimage and its current product offering, which is MiHCM, which is the major component of what the company has turned out to be. Can you give us an overview of what this is?
At the time we started, it was a very challenging time because it was during the Civil War. Just to share a bit of history, 6 months or 7 months down the line after incorporation, 2 of our employees was there when the central bank bombing happened, where they happened to be in that building. They almost died. They narrowly escaped with injuries. That's the kind of time we started the early stage of internet with dial-up connections. So our initial product was a single desktop application product. That's how we came into the market, and we organically grew and pivoted into a number of areas. And the 2 product domains we ended up focusing, one was of course on human capital management solutions, which is our the biggest business right now. The other one, of course, is on the broadcast media and the whole digital convergence business, which we power all the radio networks and TV stations with our digital advertising platforms and so forth. Not only in Sri Lanka, in some of the Southeast Asian countries. So yeah, it's quite a journey. And in essence, our main focus right now is on human capital management. We are a leading digital HR player across, right now it's about 18 markets that we operate, predominantly focusing on transitioning legacy human resources to digital HR across South and Southeast Asian territories.
So if I ask you to explain what your product currently does is, so what you've achieved over the last few years is you've taken this product made in Sri Lanka out to 18 countries in Southeast Asia, right? And in some of these countries, you're emerging as a significant player, right? When you say this is a digital HR product, what does that actually mean? What do people do with this, or what do companies do with this?
Yeah, so great question. So before I come to that, I will tell you where we laid the foundation to it. So it all started back in 2013. I happened to be at a Gartner Global event where in 2013, right? So the opening keynote presenter said, a digital tsunami is going to erupt with, the cloud convergence of cloud, mobile, social, and analytics. This 7 years ago. So when I came back, when I saw the likes of consumer-based applications, likes of Ubers and Airbnbs disrupting, leveraging this technology. So I told the team, we can't just build another product. We need to really build a platform for the future. So essentially, we didn't build just another product. We built a highly scalable digital product. When I say digital product, underlying technologies are all digital technologies like cloud, social, mobility, the data frameworks, machine learning, and so forth. And it was designed on a public cloud infrastructure. Now, essentially what it does is, if you look at the previous generation of how people were managed, these were done in a sort of a legacy manner. The HR systems were pretty much done to automate the HR process. But today, the digital technology has evolved to a level where you need to leverage and deliver a superior experience to your employees, or your internal customers, to give an outstanding experience like you are striving to do in the outside world with customer experience. The similar experience you need to deliver to employees. Now, how do you do that? How do you make that employee's engagement point is seamless on the channel of their choice, using mobility, using chatbots, things like that? So that's one aspect. The other aspect is, it's all about data. Data is one of the most valuable things. How do you really leverage data to manage your most important asset, people, better? with timely, accurate insights thrown into the respective decision-making points to manage this important asset. So we really build technology to help organizations do this transition.
How does a Sri Lankan company, and I'm sure lots of Sri Lankan companies would aspire to go to, Southeast Asia. I mean, that's a very competitive market. It's not unlike Sri Lanka, right? Southeast Asia in particular is very competitive. How do you get there, and how did you make sure you had a value proposition that works in these somewhat more sophisticated markets?
Yeah, so that's a lot of work. In fact, that's the kind of work and investment that we did within the past 3+ years. So we brought this product, MiHCM Cloud, to the market in 2017 with absolutely zero customers and zero customers. I mean, net new product. And today, if you look at 3+ years, we have almost reached 100,000 users across all these markets that I mentioned. And what we did was we essentially gone into these markets and made specific investments and had strategic partnership with key players in these markets. All these were possible because of the way we architect the product in the first place, where when we build this as a platform, we made sure it's a platform which we can plug in a localization for any given country in the world very easily without taking too much time.
I'm sure this is a competitive marketplace. Surely what you're saying sounds like a reflection of the future, right? I'm just trying to understand, who are you competing with? Not just in Sri Lanka, particularly in Southeast Asia. Who are you up against with? And how do you then have a product that really works or is attractive enough for customers?
So if you really look at in the Southeast Asian territories, in the tier 1 enterprise market, we compete with the world's best. Those world's best products are all coming from the Western world, the likes of SAP SuccessFactors, the Oracle and Workday. Those are our primary competitors in enterprise tier 1 evaluations, where we successfully won against them in number of markets with some of the largest companies. For example, I'll give you an example. We won Malaysian Stock Exchange competing with some of those players. Similarly, I can't disclose the name, one of the largest financial institution again in Malaysia, we won against those companies. And in Myanmar and Cambodia, again, with competing with those players, we won second largest financial institution and the largest conglomerate. So how do we compete? Yeah, so that's our primary competition in the enterprise space. But when it comes to mid-market and the next level, we compete with the regional players as well as the local champions. So each and every country has a local vendor who's like the homegrown champion. So we have to compete with them as well as the tier 1 players.
Okay, if you were to draw out, say, one, two, or three reasons for your success in these markets against SAP, against Oracle, or against the local champions in those markets, what do you think those 1, 2, or 3 things are?
So let me be brutally honest. I would say we have become successful with these brands yet. I mean, it's a journey we are in, but we have won against them in number of competitive situations in the recent past. That's why I was very confidently made that statement. We won against them. Merely because one thing is we project ourselves as an Asian technology company, which knows Asia better than them. So we have, first of all, we have hyper localized the product to suit the respective market that we compete compared to our competition. So it's really localized in terms of user experience, not only the web application, but the mobile itself. Now, most of these products have not localized into that granular level. That's one of the first advantage with it. Second is, of course, the pricing. We are highly price competitive. So the Asian companies find it, we are getting a similar product like you would have acquired from a Western big giant with a similar functionality or even some areas beyond because of the localizations element that we have done in the specific cases at a very competitive price. So these two plays a bigger role. The third thing is, I would say, our local partner support. In all these markets, we have established local partners who have been trained and they even have the ability to implement. Now, if you look at Malaysia, some of these projects I mentioned, We are not implementing. It's implemented by a local partner. So it's Malaysian company implementing for Malaysian customers.
Surely cracking foreign markets is challenging, but in a technology point of view, what is challenging about taking a cloud product global?
Well, it's first of all, it's a mindset. I mean, in the early days, it was setting the mindset of our engineers to challenge them that we can do this.
Right.
We can build a product as good as a product coming from Silicon Valley in Sri Lanka. So that's what the biggest challenge was initially, to break their mindset. Now they're on, like, I would say, like steroids. They've broken that challenge. They now believe in that. They are now in that journey. So that was the first challenge you really need to break. The second is, how do you deal with respective territories? That's where we started figuring out, sometimes you can't actually use the Sri Lankan talent alone to serve these markets. You have to hire people locally. So we started hiring people from those local territories. So that's where we have people managing Malaysia. So we have our own staff in Malaysia. We just started hiring in Indonesia. We'll be hiring soon in Thailand and Myanmar as well. So we started hiring local people, so then they can give that. If I give you some numbers, Shamindra, Southeast Asia alone, the GDP is about $10 trillion, and it's about 350 million labor force market, 350 million. And if you combine with South Asia, that we are also in, excluding India, you can add about another 200 million easily to it. Now, that is about over $500 million labor force that the market that is in. So you can see the kind of opportunity that is there to help these organizations to transform. In Asia alone, if you look at, after China and India, if you look at Southeast Asia as a territory, it's like the third largest.
Like you said, one of the first things you had to crack was the mindset that we can do this out of Sri Lanka, right? From a Sri Lanka tech industry or Sri Lanka economy point of view, why do you think what you're doing is important?
I'm always been from the inception. My background is programming, so from the high school days, we are all crack programmers. We started these companies not from the mindset of making money, but just to create beautiful products. So we always had passion for products. Whenever we got opportunities to do services, we said no. It was a very difficult to say no to services.
Now,
so
you have to define
really
what you mean by services here, because there are lots of tech companies in Sri Lanka that are what you say are services company. What's the difference between building a product and a service company?
So product companies where you own your own IP, where you build a product from ideation to the whole complete life cycle and come up with a product with your own brand,
right,
and take it to the market locally or globally. So you own the IP. And in a services company, you have plethora of customers who are contracting you to do different kind of software. Where you charge by project, or you charge by the headcount fee or the body count. This much of resources. Our software engineer costs let's say $250, $500 per man day. This much cost. So it's based on a body hiring basis or project basis. So this is the services company, and services companies can make money very fast, because you can actually reach out to so many customers and onboard different kind of projects. But to stay disciplined to one product and take that product into a global market where you compete in that particular product category with global players, it's very challenging and very hard. So that's where you need to really innovate yourself, keep up with the technology, keep investing. A lot of things go for it. Now, why I say that we need to create more product companies for Sri Lanka is, Sri Lanka is a small country. We have only 21 million people. If you really look at our industry, it's very small. But what we do have is we have fantastic engineering talent here. So I think Sri Lanka can produce more and more successful product-based companies, because we can't really scale on the services space, because there are bigger players like India which can scale when it comes to numbers. We don't have that numbers in Sri Lanka. So we need to produce a product. That's one. The other thing is the value realization. So value realization is very high for a product company. Similarly, you know, there were two exits rather in Sri Lankan ICT industry over the past 25 years, where the value realization was at a higher level because they had IP. So Sri Lanka, if you really want to leapfrog and see ICT industry becoming a key contributor for GDP, we need to create more value generating initiatives in the country. So my message to the next generation of entrepreneurs is to build more product IP-based applications, which you can truly take global.
As we get to the end of the conversation, let me also switch back to, you know, where you started, right? When you started, you were doing singular fonts, I think, right? And then you went on to do went on to build a broadcast software business, several little businesses, right? What do you think made it possible for you to, as a company, as a leader of a company, to pivot so many times? What about that mindset? What about your leadership made that possible?
Okay, that's basically because the people behind the company, the guys who founded this company are all crazy, very passionate technology lovers from childhood. We love technology. However, what we realized towards the latter part of the company, I mean, like 5 years, 6 years ago, is that even though we have been in existence, we have pretty much ran in terms of a business. When we have won so many awards, been highlighted so much, we have been a sort of a lifestyle company. The company was not designed to exponentially scale. That's where we decided to bring some business discipline now and bring more business focus apart from our technology focus. And how do we get a scalable business going? So if you really look at our growth story, the actual growth, I would say, a scalable growth started 3+ years ago. I mean, year on year, we have been growing over 100%. It's crazy after we built this platform, how we started growing.
Harsha Purasinghe, thank you very much for joining How I Did It.
Thank you, Shamindra.